It's connected. All right. Well, welcome everyone. And when I say everyone, I'm speaking to the audience that I hope will be watching this video over the next couple of days. This is a redo of the week 2 of the year of the listing 2021. And the reason it's coming to you with just Alan and I on it is that someone who will remain nameless to protect him from scrutiny forgot to push the record button. So we're doing it again, a redo, and we hope you enjoy it. So here we go. The year of the listing 2021 is upon us, the great search for listings. And in week 1, we had two primary reasons why, or benefits of being a listing agent as opposed to being a buyer's agent. And I'm just going to quickly say those. Number one, they're obligated to work with you for the duration of the listing, and everyone else out there, the agents, work for you. So the obligation contractually and legally is there. The second one was control of your time, which is super important. And all the benefits that we're going to throw out there, I think, are my favorites. But for the moment, control of your time. Everyone's time is valuable, your clients and yours. You know, think of yourself as well. The only thing that's limited in our life is time, and you need time to eat and sleep and enjoy other things. But when you're in real estate, sometimes you're at the mercy of your clients. And so that's a biggie, control of your time. So Ellen, why don't we share the screen now and get week 2 up there, if you could. Did I
Okay,
allow you to share?
that's good. That would be a good thing. Well, I'm sharing here.
Oh, there you go. You got it.
Okay, let me
You got it. We're getting
throw
there.
this up. There we go. We're good.
So week 2. In what I've got to do now is I'm going to hold on one sec, Al.
Yep.
All right. In week 2, now we're going to talk about additional benefits. Every listing almost guarantees 2 buyer sales. And this is profitable and a fun one. And it's been found through studies that each listing that you take will actually generate up to 2 buyer sales, because you get the sign calls, the internet leads, and you can do the discovery on what they want at the open house, get them to like you. And basically, when you're on the phone with them, don't just say, the price is X and hang up. Just say, try to create that relationship, discover what it is about the listing that made them call you in the first place while they're at the open house. And open houses are going to open up again. So, we're not doing them so much now, but that's going to change like everything else. So you try to get them into an exclusive buyer rep agreement, the buyer representation. So think about it. 1 listing, 3 sales from it, generally speaking. We talked about finding sellers in the past, and a good statistic, and that's on the 4th slide, Alan, I believe, leveraging their equity. 58.7% of all the homes in the United States have at least 60% equity. $100,000 house, 60,000, $300,000 house, 180,000. That's huge. And the other thing is that 42% of all the homes in the country are mortgage free. They don't owe anything. So the value is their equity. And that's huge. And this is according to John Burns Consulting, which is a national consulting firm. So this isn't just something we're making up. In Connecticut, I don't know what those numbers are, but they're probably close to holding true in Connecticut and probably in Greater Hartford as well. The average equity of mortgaged homes is $177,000. Tremendous amount of savings for homeowners who are looking to go out and buy in today's market. The one thing they should be informed of is constantly is interest rates, the lack of inventory, meaning their home is probably more value, has more value than it appears to be on paper. And anybody who's in a position to sell, they're in a great place to win big. And I think we've got to just relay that to as many people as we can. Whether they want to move up to a larger home or downsize, you just counsel them into here's what your equity can do for you. Next slide, Alan.
You're
Now,
there.
this slide says contact your past clients from 2 to 5 years ago. For you savvy veterans who have been here with us for 2 to 5 years, you have that list. For those of you that don't, your sphere of influence can be a pretty good source of folks that would not be offended if you sent them a price trend analysis, or what I generally do, and I can teach you how to do this, is my CCMA. It's a comparative market analysis on steroids. The first C stands for comprehensive. If you want the Excel spreadsheet that I use, you just need to text or call me and I'll send it to you. It's a blank, it's reusable. You can customize it. It'll take you probably a half hour, maybe at the most, the first time around. The second and third times around, you can probably knock one of these out in 10 minutes. It's just a matter of searching for the comparables, making adjustments, and I'll show you how to do that. But think about it. If somebody sent you this just unsolicited and said, hey, and you know them, hey, Joe, hey, Sally, here's what I think your house is worth in today's market. Hey, just curious, any thoughts of trading up or down? Let's talk soon. And a little handwritten sticky note on it. A very unoffensive, unobtrusive thing to do for folks that you know. This was a idea that was put out there by another national coach, Tom Ferry, and I picked up on it, and I thought it would be interesting for you to hear. So, next slide, Alan. And here, when you're doing this, you gotta follow up with a phone or a text. Just sending that piece of email is nice, but it doesn't get you engaged in that conversation unless when they open it up, they call you right away and say, oh yeah, I want to do something right away. It doesn't really happen like that. So follow up with a phone call or a text, just saying, hey, did you get my CCMA that I sent out the other day? What'd you think? You think it's high? You think it's low? Get in a conversation about it. So follow up is key. By the way, my Weicker can solve the mental aspect of trying to remember who to call and when to call. If you enter them in and set up the plan, it'll just tell you every day, hey, today you call Jane and John, tomorrow you call Mike and Mary, and you text and email. So it's easy to keep track. And you say right now you don't need that because I only have 5 or 10 people in the sphere. But when you get 100 or 200 or 300, and that 300 now includes an additional 50 buyers and sellers, then it gets to the point where it's out of control and it's hard to play catch up. So start slow with baby steps, enter 5 or 10 people a day. By the time you're done with it, you'll be glad you did. And the other thing is these things, these leads and names that you put into my Weicker, they're private to you. No one can see them. I can't see them. Your colleagues and coworkers can't see them. So there's no fear of interference or saying, oh, I know that guy too, or I know them and they should be working with me. Some of these people may be in multiple spheres, but that's okay. I mean, it's just unknown, and that's going to happen in the world we live in where everybody knows everybody. So anyway, the lead link, just listed, just sold postcards. If you have a listing, make a sale, you're going to get an email saying, do you want to send these out? For 30 bucks, for 50, it's a no-brainer. You really should do that. It's the best money you could ever spend after you perform a successful listing or sale. I usually double it and spend 60 bucks for 100. But if you're in a neighborhood where there's only 50 houses, just do the 50. Minimum 50, get them out there. You can also, through my Weicker, do the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all those things. Push button once, it goes out everywhere. You can boost it. I think Cam boosted an open house a couple of weeks ago, Alan. I don't know if you know the statistics on it, but maybe comment on that. There were a ton of names in there that I saw.
Yeah, I don't know the statistics of for his personal boost,
Okay.
but I do know it was very successful.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. So now we are into week 3 already. And I'm going to bring that up on my screen, if you bear with me. Anything else that I missed there, Alan, that
No, just maybe touch base on the Instagram. Make sure that you're using your Instagram. In fact, KV Core can automatically create posts for the Instagram. And if anybody needs any help on learning how to do that, let me know. I'll be happy to hold a Zoom meeting. We can do it one-on-one so you can learn how to do it. It takes about 15 minutes to do, maybe not even, to learn how to do it.
Awesome. Awesome. One of the buzzwords or buzz phrases that we've been seeing over the last few weeks with this year of the listing 2021, low inventory doesn't mean no inventory. There is inventory out there, and we just have to fight a little harder for it, because people aren't just going to come out of the woodwork and say, oh, Tom, I want to sell, or John, I want to sell. You know, they've got to be kind of coached into it in a in a systematic way. And a lot of people are just fearful right now. They don't know what the market's doing. They hear things, but you need to be that voice and that consultant and be able to lead them to make the good decisions in their moment of truth when it comes to all things real estate. So let's get into week 3. Another benefit of the being a listing agent is your efforts matter the most, meaning that all of your efforts, whether it be with the open houses, moderating and consulting them with the feedback, all go towards selling the house and making a commission. When you're working with a buyer, you could have, if you're not there at their mercy at 9:30 in the morning when they call you and say, hey, this just came on, I got to see it at 10 o'clock, and you're 80 miles away and you can't get there. Or you say, oh, let's do it at 4, which is more convenient for me. And you don't say that out loud, but you do it at 4. And by that time, you're leaving the house and you're getting ready to text the agent, and you check the status and it comes on show status, or worse yet, deposit already. That happens to a lot of us. Things are happening at lightning speed. So you really got to be there when they want you there. So if you want to control your time and have your efforts go to getting a paycheck, listing agent is the way to be. So next slide, Ellen. Oh, I love this one. Don't feel guilty about taking time off. If you have, in this market, let's say 3 to 5 listings in your name, well, let's start with 1. If you're lucky enough to get your first one for some of our rookies. But the veterans, 3 to 5, if you're lucky enough to have more than that, even better. But you can take time off. In the summer, you can go put your feet in the water and sit there with your favorite beverage and not feel guilty about it. If you're working exclusively with buyers, you're always wondering, what am I missing? What am I missing? What am I missing? And something pops up when you least expect it and you can't get there, and they feel let down. And then they call and say, oh, you weren't there for me, I want out. And if they're, if you do let them out, the next day they call you and say, oh, by the way, just found the house. And it was the first one that their next agent showed them. So don't feel guilty when you have listings. It's the way to be, and you've earned the right to take some time off without being guilty. Let's get into the average equity we already talked about. Oh, here's a good one. The Weichert equity estimate, Alan. This is really simple. To give them a CMA or CCMA or a price trend analysis takes a little effort, and you have to do a little digging. But to give a Weichert equity estimate is really quite simple. All you need is 2 pieces of information. What do you think the house is worth? And what's their mortgage balance? On the tax records of, on the MLS, sometimes, and most, especially if it was in the last several years, you can find out what mortgage they took out. Let's say 2 years ago, they took out 150. You can use your mortgage calculator and find out that today they owe 145. So They took out 150, they bought for 200, now it's worth 250 and they owe 145. Here's your, the next slide, Alan, just shows a real simple thing that you can send them saying, hey, I think your house is worth X. If you owe 150, you got $100,000. And basically, you just follow up the same way with a phone call or a text again saying, hey, did you get what I sent you? What'd you think? Were you surprised? Were you disappointed? And get that conversation going. You've got to be the voice in their ear for all things real estate. Because if it's not you, it's going to be somebody else. There's always somebody else. And the loyalty factor in the industry, I was talking to Ralph Williams and Doug Thompson this afternoon for a little bit, and they're saying that the loyalty factor is really at risk unless you are in contact with them somewhere in the 15 to 17 times a year range. And it could be a variety of ways that you're in touch with them. So don't think you have to pick up the phone and call them 17 times. Sometimes that's a little intrusive, if you will. But a text, I mean, I get texts all the time from random people saying, hey, I just texted them, call me next month. I'm too busy. And that's okay. But they know you're thinking about them, and that's big. So you can also search for FSBOs on Zillow. Just go into an area that you're looking for, go into Newington and say, I'm looking for all the FSBOs. If they'll have their phone number there, and you just call and start prospecting the FSBOs. They're all there, and I'll tell you what, you're not the only one calling them, but you will be the only one calling them 2, 3, and 4 times. Most people give up after the second time. Handwritten notes, huge. Don't really think that any people are doing that because it takes effort. And for the most part, we're finding out also that when things get tough, a lot of people get lazy. So don't be that lazy person. Go the extra mile, do the extra effort, and even people who don't know you very well will appreciate that effort. Say, hey, this person's working. I like that. So that's the Zillow thing. Alan, we can stop sharing the screen now, I think.
Okay.
And, we can bring us back up there so they see our pretty faces, if that's even possible.
Not with me here.
I was always there, but I was I'm looking at the screen and reading and trying to do the presentation. We're only 18 minutes into this, which is great. We talked about sending a CMA to past clients or just your sphere. Start by doing one for your closest friend, your closest relative, your aunt, your uncle. Just say, hey, what do you think? And listen to their criticism and go with it. I mean, you want them to be critical of what you're doing. But again, if you text or email me and ask for, all you have to say is send CCMA. I'll send it to you, and I will follow up with a phone call or a text asking if you need any help doing it. It's a 25-year-old formula that pretty much holds true. And it's just something that shows that you're putting in thought and effort. It's all about the effort. Jim Weichert says, and I agree with it, we can't expect you to make a sale or take a listing every day. But what you can do is make sure that you're doing the activities that allow you to take 2 or 3 listings a month and make 2 or 3 sales a month from buyers. So it's the activities that lead to the end result, the promised land of getting to a closing.
Yeah, and I'll just share with this. I was actually having a mechanic look at my mechanic that I trust, looking at a car that I'm thinking about buying with my fiance. And literally, I sold him a house about 7 years ago. And he wants, he was like, he goes, how's the real estate market? They always ask you that. So I'm like, well, right now it's hot and on fire. If you want to sell, that now's the time. And she goes, I'd love to. He goes, I don't know if I could convince the wife. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't I do this? Why don't I run a little evaluation on what your house is worth? I'll get you the numbers so you can see what kind of equity you've got sitting in it. And, you can use that to entice the wife if you need to. If you need my help, but at least you'll have the numbers. He said, oh, that'd be great. So just, it's all around you. And
Mhm.
that's just, I didn't even make the phone call. I just happened to be having a car looked at and spoke to a past client at the same time. And every time you just got to, everywhere you turn around, you've got to be offering that. That's a great value to them.
With the cold weather out there now, obviously, a lot of people are staying home a little more. The COVID thing still is on everybody's mind, but with the vaccine coming out and a lot of people, I think, are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. It's a long tunnel and it's not over by any stretch, but I think the optimism is going to be a little higher going forward than it has been over the past 3 to 6 months. Certainly, spring market's going to be um, a challenge because of the lack of inventory, but all we're concerned about is our inventory. If you're controlling the listings or have a listing, you're going to get paid and you're going to be happy. And I love having happy people around me, as does Alan. We don't want anybody being like sad about this whole thing. We're in business to have fun and make money. Another couple of tips. While we're still in winter and still with COVID, now is the time to update your bios, your profiles, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn, or update your photo. It doesn't have to be a professional photo, just a good, clean photo of what you look like today, not what you look like in high school, not what and not something where you're in a bathing suit, relatively professional. Corporate casual is fine. That's the way the world's going. Um, I was never a tie guy. I wore ties just because I thought I had to, but uh, everything since COVID, everything's gone casual, and that's okay. But clean corporate casual is a better look. So update those. Update how many years you've been in business. Update what you've done. Update some of your hobbies. If you like to cook or like to play tennis or whatever it is that you like to do, those are the kinds of connections that you can make through social media. So take the time now and do that. And again, my personal favorite right now that I'm getting callbacks from and texts from is the handwritten notes. It just shows that you're taking the time and you're thinking about somebody. And I told you, I don't really handwrite the entire note because my handwriting is horrible. I went to Catholic school. My mother was an English teacher, but my handwriting, as I get older and weak and feeble, it's just I can't even read my stuff sometimes. So what I do is I put it in a calligraphy font and I'll just have it just generic and saying, hey, how you doing? All 2020 wasn't all bad. There are a lot of good things happening. We sold over 370 homes, which is 740 people, moved based on, our efforts. And if you're thinking about it, now's the time. Low inventory is going to be here for a while. So now might be the time to put it out there. But at the top, I handwrite in blue ink, hey, Joe. And at the bottom, hope all is well, John Z. So they see at least I'm doing something. And I do handwrite the envelope, which sometimes the postmaster can't read, but that's my personal favorite. Find your personal favorite, whatever it is. And then once you have a personal favorite, get a second personal favorite and multiple funnels, we say. And Alan has this, 12 ways to find business. Use 3 of them, use 4 of them, have your personal favorites. And if you can do all 12, that's great. But it's overwhelming to expect you to do all things that are available to you. It's just too much. So pick your favorites and go with it. If you are doing any kind of Zoom calls with your clients or customers, and I recommend that you do, invest in camera, lights, and a microphone that work well, where you're not struggling with the technology part of it. Have it set up. I've got the green screen here. I'm in the office today, brought in lunch, so I figured I'd hang out for a little bit longer and do this in the studio, so to speak, with Alan. But at home, I've got to invest in that. It's not expensive either. A couple $100 will get you pretty far. And Alan can tell you what to do. Ralph is a good resource. He bought all this stuff. It's all on Amazon pretty much. And it's just a question of if it gets there next day or the day after. But I recommend doing it. I mean, I still don't want, I get a little skeevy about going into people's houses, and I really don't want anybody at this point in time coming into my house. If I were selling, I would have no choice, but I don't think anybody's been in my house since March 15th, other than my wife and I and Nick. Actually, on New Year's Day. Our hot water heater went, but he was only in the cellar, the plumber. That's the only guy.
Where else can you actually have a background that you can pick? You could have the fantasy office space with the big view in the background with the the lakes and the mountain, and you can always change it. You can be anywhere you'd like. You can be in the office. You could be out you could be out on the ocean. So yeah, having the green screens, it's a fun way to. There you go.
You know, this is a picture of myself rowing the boat. From front to back, in the front of the picture, that's my brother Joe, then my brother Michael, then me, my sister Mariana, and my sister Teresa. That was probably in or around, I'm going to say 1960, perhaps, at Chapman Beach in Westbrook. One of my favorite photos because it's got all five of us there. But look who's driving the boat. That's right. I drive the boat. I stir the pot. Invest a little bit in yourself. And I'm really glad to see a lot of our rookies coming on and taking part and getting this information out. But guys like Tom and Phil, I mean, they're out there too, paying attention to this stuff because it's a new world. And sometimes you've got to learn new techniques and new strategies to survive. I mean, we've changed literally from a in-person, in-office party, outside, happy hours and everything else to just, you know, the lack of the touch, but it's still interaction. So we've got to adapt, and we will. And we'll all be better for it, I think, in the end. It's streamlined, but it makes you think fast. You know, there's no time to snooze. If you snooze, you lose. And but until we meet next week, and we're going to probably go back to the Saturdays, at least during the cold months and the COVID finale here, because Saturday we had quite a few people on, and there were double the amount that watched the video afterwards. So Tuesday, I think everybody, a lot of our people in the field are still out there working. They were on the phones or whatever. So we're going to go back to Saturday for week 4. So look forward to that. Impact Initiative was today. I know there were about a dozen of you on it. And if you weren't, you can watch the rerun of that as well. We are into the 28th minute. So Alan, we did it under 29. I thank you for your production efforts. And anything in closing?
No, I think we're good. We're good.
Oh, I forgot to hit the record button again.
Better up.
We can laugh about it, but you know, it is what it is.
Yes.
That was me that forgot, by the way, just in case you're wondering.
In case you were trying to blame it on me and just let
No, I would never throw you under the bus. So
don't do it unless they watch this whole thing now.
Until next time,
yes.
Stay well and
God bless.
get a listing.
Yes.
Bye for now.
Take care.
I'm going to stop recording.